Oh, meeting over, right?
Yep. We'll call meeting to order. Roll call vote. Or do we have to do a roll call? Pretty much what I thought.
We were, yeah,
Okay,
no problem solved.
great.
Okay, Mr. President.
Well, thank you everyone for attending the meeting tonight. And I hope everyone has happy holidays and a happy new year, 2024.
Well, not so good, so sorry. But my anniversary was the 8th and
Oh, wow.
52 years, so that's a happy. And you know, my son always wishes me a happy Elvis Day, because I was Elvis' birthday. But he's only at the anniversary, so he said to his little daughter, who's 17, he said, you know, today is, well, grandma, Jesus, what, yeah, she.
All right, okay, so, the first thing we will do is, take a vote to approve the meeting minutes. I read them, they looked fantastic. Thank you very much for taking those. Did everyone have a chance to do? Okay,
Joe.
yep, so we'll take a roll call vote. Donna?
I.
Joe?
I.
Very much so, aye. Aye. Yeah. Oh,
Aye.
okay. Accepted unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the treasurer's report. I don't know, Joan, if there's any.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, going through the treasurer's, records, I looked up our accounts, which have remained the same. The historical commission donation fund is $917.17. The historical commission expense fund that we get every year is $1,000. The historical commission preservation reserve historic places or whatever fund that we had voted in at the last town meeting is $25,000. And as I was looking through all of the line items throughout the whole budget, I found Heritage Park Bench Donation Fund, $1,000. So I sent a message out to the
Okay, fine.
Ken,
Okay.
Ken, and I said to him, who has control over this, you know? Because we seem to have control over what happens at the park. And he said, yes, you have control over it with assistance from the DPW. So there's $1,000 sitting there, named the Heritage Park Bench Donation Fund. And I suppose if we needed it for something that was acceptable by the DPW, we'd probably use it. But I would think it would have to be within the Heritage Park.
Interesting, we probably could have used that for the Heritage Park signing restoration.
I know,
Perfect use.
I know.
Yeah, I think we get the taxpayer dollars do that.
Yeah.
Return 90% of the CPC funds.
Right, right.
Or, how is the shape of the shed at the Heritage Park? Has anyone inspected that at all?
No.
Yeah.
And, never mind.
Is that CPC funds, $1,000?
It didn't say on the line item. Usually in the description, it will say CPC fund, but it did not. It says it's a donation fund.
Oh,
And I'm thinking, and it was received before 2013. So I'm wondering if it was money that they collected for, Whose bench is it down by the water?
Is it
Ashley Perkins. And Barbara was probably involved in all of that, and, so I don't know if that was from that. I mean, it looks like that's probably where the money came from. And it wasn't for Bob Burke's bench.
So is it intended for maintenance for that other bench?
What's there in anything?
Maybe the shrubs around
It
it?
sits there.
Because that's back in the woods.
No, no, it's. Well,
Because it's by the well.
yeah, it's by the water.
You know, I wonder if it needs to be cleared out, because it seems like it's kind of.
But don't you think that the DPW would continue? So, so there's some money that could be thought about if we have need money for something that heritage.
Okay, because I think, I remember Bill Taylor said something about mice getting into that shed, so.
It's a gift for a show.
Yeah.
That's true.
So all of these, things are as of December 31st, 2023.
Okay, that's fine.
Do we need to approve the treasurer's report, or do we just?
The next item is, the interpretive plan, presented by Helen Arnold, that I reached out to her last week, and she said there's no updates for that item, so we can skip over that one. The next item on the agenda is the Heritage Park sign. I don't think we have any updates for that. We're just waiting for Foxconn Valley to complete that. We'll probably be completed in the spring, I imagine. Ed and I had stopped by in September and took a look at it. Like it was coming along very well. Doesn't look like an excellent job, so I'm sure there's.
So we haven't put any money forward for that.
No.
I got a email from, I don't remember the name, a couple days ago, asking what the status of that is. I think she was the treasurer of the CPC. And I gave her an update and said, what you just said, we visited, we saw the sign in October. The understanding is it's gonna rest throughout the winter months, it will be installed sometime in the spring by the students.
And that's what the money should.
And we saw a lot of it being carved, fabulous, so.
Oh.
I think I said something to Derek, maybe I didn't, they ought to submit the invoice up front, since all their expenses are up front. So maybe an email to Derek saying, why don't you get an invoice together? So we can pay it, It's not a situation where I would
So,
not made till the job is done, but they had to buy the structure, which was the biggest expense.
so if I'm not here and we need to put out this money, somebody would have to step in as treasurer. Right? Okay,
It's all things. We're the same thing, running.
okay.
Never getting the commission submitting the invoice to treasurer's office. Which maybe, we can get into, wondering if you could get a blank copy of the expense structure of the treasurer's office. Because the invoices for the Grange program, only one we've done so far, we filled out an expense voucher. This commission approved it and then forwarded it to Paul Carey and the CPC approved it and then they forwarded it to the treasurer's office for payment. And we can do that without having a meeting.
A blank copy of an expense voucher.
Expense voucher. Email is made in perfect world, not be called.
Email.
If they can email one to me downstairs.
Alright. Are you good with that? Okay. So the next item on the agenda is discussing the operating procedure for documenting historical properties before demolition. I didn't have any updates for that. We have, I think, we left off, saying that we would pretty much just do that ourselves as the historical commission. And so I just didn't have any updates on that. So I'll pass over that.
What we're gonna do, in a future meeting where we don't have a lot of the agenda, is bring the form. We can spend 15 or 20 minutes going out the form, decide whether it be, we could document a property, taking photographs, putting information on the form and stuff.
Okay,
I'm not having to hire someone to spend money.
okay, sounds good. I think, I had looked at the form, it looks like we were following the form for all previous, historical documentation for properties, so it looked like it was pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've done that in the past, yeah, it's pretty basic, it's just pictures and a brief description, so. Yeah, but I'll grab that form, I'll bring it in. The next item on the agenda is, the National Historic District warrant article. I didn't have any updates for that either. I don't know if anyone else wants to discuss topics related to that.
This is whether or not we should go forward and present it again.
Yeah.
And I think we probably should try, but I don't know how involved that will be and how time it should be started. I feel that I would like to help, but I would not be around for.
It took a massive start.
That's a good idea, yeah.
She gets, the standard district is from district.
Will they, do they have people that they would send out to help us?
Yeah, they're public hearing.
Oh,
One show, all.
Oh, okay.
By one.
okay,
Everybody, all the property owners would buy it.
okay.
Yeah, I think if we could have help with that, that'd be great, because we want to make sure that we present it to the town in a positive light, because we definitely don't want to have another failure. If we have another failure, town hall is not going to look good.
They didn't have, they just bought it at the county and have new workshops ahead of time.
Yeah.
And usually like for Chesapeake, everybody got, property owner got a letter,
Yeah,
and then it's carried up town.
So they only got a letter and then they voted on it?
Yeah.
Oh,
They got rehab.
so they didn't have any information about what it really meant.
Yeah, sit down and explain the whole thing, because I mean, somebody from Mass Historical. And
yeah, I like the idea of workshop, because I've seen how those types of things go down, when you send people letters, and then the neighbors get together and they chit chat about it, and you don't know which way that conversation goes, so we should kind of frame it.
It's, hearsay, what did we think?
And they probably have questions too, that they may or may not have gotten answered, so which would form their, yeah, I like that idea of workshop, that's good.
So is that something that we should put on the burner?
I think so, yeah, I think I'll take an action item, and I'll reach out to Mass Historic and
Okay.
see, initiate the conversation and see what we need to do, and proceed for that. And I'll see everybody, correspondence. Yeah, I think that would be good. I definitely want to make sure that we don't fail on that though, because that would look bad, so we definitely want to make sure that we're confident that we have a chance of that.
Just tell everybody on the street that there's 2 more building Davis suicide. See what that, I mean, the approach to see what the residents' thoughts are that would be affected by a national historic district. That was the concern 10 or 20, whenever it was done years ago.
Yeah.
That maybe their concerns were not taken kind of more trying to ahead with a vote on putting a historic district in place. Right. I mean, how many people might it affect? You got any thoughts, gentlemen, or else? 50 families, if we put a national historic district on Main Street,
Or down Main Street.
50 families, 100 families.
Like, under just one.
Yeah. Or if you-
The whole length change.
That would be, yeah, that would be a topic for discussion. For
The Main Street district begins somewhere around BFW, goes up to somewhere around Pleasant Street. Yes.
Oh,
Oh, does it go ahead?
Once we had that.
Yeah, the three districts that were done years ago, there's the north, Main, I forget what it's called, North Main District, which is your street over to School Street.
Yeah.
The Center District, which is the town hall, Holy Angels going up the street, and the West Upton District.
Yeah, I took this, yeah.
So the biggest push would be if we attempted to put all three of those districts and create them as a national historic. You might, if it was 189 homes, see effect, 200 families. And I guess it would be nice to know ahead of time what those people's thoughts were if we did the job to truly make sure they understood what the impact is or isn't by creating this. So I don't know, as I myself, by expanding that to does anybody sitting at this table truly know what the pluses and minuses are with the district in place? So if we don't understand it, why would we attempt to get it the town vote?
right. So that would be an issue for us to reach out.
So the MHC could educate us.
Yeah, we definitely need that.
I'm talking to myself, I guess, but
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a great idea.
if they can educate us on pluses and minuses, how to approach it, maybe somehow avail or poll of the residents of the district with information and ask what are your thoughts.
Yeah.
Get 10% of the respondents back. It should have.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So, yeah, I'll reach out to them and CC commission and see what I'm sure they've done it hundreds of times, so I'm sure they have a game plan in place where how to proceed, so. Yeah, so that would be great. Maybe not. That's nice. It shouldn't be so. Okay, so that's, next item on the agenda is the cloud storage box. There's been some activity regarding this action item. In, the town manager committee, an email, Catherine and they forwarded me that, or Catherine had forwarded me email. Joe has concerns about the current storage solution. He said that he made
Patrick again. From the microphones, please.
we made to figure out possibly revamp the current solution or figure out a new solution so that we can figure a sync between town's T drive, I don't know what T stands for, or OneDrive. So I think we need more details on how to with that initiative. So Joe said that we could meet with the IT department. Thank you. That we don't need a permission to show up for that. In fact, he said that he wanted it to be a relatively small meeting, but I would like a couple of people from the historical commission to attend, maybe Ed and Patrick, Catherine, and anyone else that want to attend. They're welcome to. And just kind of touch base and discuss how we should proceed with that. Joe in his email had mentioned that the conservation administrator has a similar type of setup for this, where they're syncing their cloud storage with this G drive or OneDrive, so maybe we can use that as a model for going forward. So in any case, I am going to reach out to Joe, and then tell him that we would like to proceed with first week of February meeting with IT and Joe, and see if we can figure out a solution going forward. The good news is that we don't really have too much effort put into the current cloud storage on the box.com. We have a couple files in there, so it's not really a huge effort that we're going to be losing, but that we have to delete that and start new. But I will go ahead and reach out to Joe and schedule a meeting, and I will update everyone on the results of that meeting at the next historical commission meeting. And I'll make sure everyone is CC'd on what the meeting is for. So
I think his concern all stems from everything we do has to be public.
yes,
So to create open meeting on box.com or Dropbox or whatever, it's for our own internal purposes. It's not appropriate. It has to have public access. That's, I think, but, and so I was confused quite understanding what you're doing.
I'm not sure. G drive or one drive. Stuff. I think. I mean, like that. Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, there's a lag, so it makes it hard for me to interject, but I'm not sure that it has to be public necessarily. It just has to be discoverable. So if there was like, because of open meeting law and whatever, if there's a request, I don't know if it's like technically a Freedom of Information Act request, but it's that kind of thing. If there's a request for information, it all has to be on something that's like a central town accessible database that's not just like us putting things on our own private drives that nobody else can access but us kind of thing. I think that's the kind of where Joe was going with it. So it's not necessarily that like Joe Schmo can like, you know, log on to our town website and just get it right off of that. That's not the level it is, but it does need to be sort of like a central town accessible thing in case there's any kind of like discovery or you know, any allegation that all of the information that we as a town committee have is available in an accessible place by the town.
Yeah, I think you're
I think she said that. Yes, but that while members come and go here, the information remains in the place where any new member can come in and go find that folder or file on whatever drive it's on and see what has happened here in the past.
exactly.
It's nothing that comes up 10 years from now. It's how do we get the 189 homes on the Mass Historic Commission go in and find the folder and see all the work that was done in the 1990s or 2010s.
Exactly.
And that's my concern, your concern is that I'm sitting all the stuff on my computer here at home. It's not available.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, so hopefully, Joe will have good, or the IT department will have a good solution for us for that issue. Going forward. So, okay, great. So the next item on the agenda is the historical commission mailbox. I had checked that this past week, and there were 2 items in the mailbox. There was a flyer from the Mass Historical Commission regarding grants that are available. It looks like there's a grant deadline for March 15th for MPPF. Not sure what that stands for. That's Massachusetts Preservation Project Fund.
That's a great.
Well, that's a grant. Okay.
Don't you want to try again?
Yeah.
That's the one we did last March, so
Right.
this up into.
As soon as you said the date, I said, oh, I know what that is.
Mass Preservation Program funding, yeah. So it's gotta be number 30, right?
We have Dave.
This is third one on 20 minute.
Round 30.
Round 30.
There's you.
Yeah, I don't know if we have anything on the agenda right now for line on the brand.
So the other item I received is a letter from Mass Dot Certified Mail regarding the repaving of Route 140, which we had discussed in a previous meeting. And their need to replace the culvert that is there in place for Centerbrook. So they are saying in this letter that they need to remove the old culvert because it's old and dysfunctional and replace it with a new culvert. It is in, actually, on that, it's, I think it's right in front of, I don't know exactly, but I think it's in front of the town hall.
It's the one across the street, the grocery, in the grocery in front of the brewery.
What's there? Oh,
It's been on the DPW's list for 3 years for complete replacement of the bridge. The bridge has to be replaced.
okay, because I know there's another culvert in this building here that, I think there's a brook that runs by the church.
That's right, I was thinking,
Yeah. But that's the one.
Yeah.
Yes, you can see where it, with the fact that they've got to replace the bridge.
You can see where I am, but the church over the United Parish, look down there. You see it run right along, you know, it's gonna disappear.
It disappears.
It's in the ground.
Okay. So it must connect to the center. Oh, it connects right at that bridge. That's a good question. I don't know.
There's a map. The items that you sent us, there's a map and it says site location. It's on 140 past the center of town towards Milford. So it's not either of the ones in the center of town. It's not the bridge on Grove Street. It looks like it's much farther up.
Oh, yeah. It's further.
So if you find the map, if you've got the attachments there, then there's.
It's at Christian Road. Oh, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 houses. So that affects 140. I didn't see that. So it has nothing to do with the bridge.
No.
Okay. It's up the street. Past.
I think it's where that I don't know if you guys saw, but there were like orange cones where Prospect Street comes into 140 down that hill. There were orange cones there over on the left side as you're leaving town for ages. I think that's where it is. It's like right as the Prospect Street intersects with 140 over on that side. In any case, it's not near anything, so it didn't seem like much of a problem to me.
Is Prospect Street the road you take a left on to go down to the Heritage Park?
No,
That's okay.
Yes.
It's right past Gasco.
Prospect. Yeah.
Oh. Oh, yeah, because there's a little street that goes down.
Yeah,
On the
it's,
right.
it's cones sitting there, that's for sure.
Okay, I see. Okay, interesting, so Not where I thought it was.
No,
That's good enough.
no, I don't think that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yep, so that's, yeah, I don't think there's any action items on our behalf. I think it's just a notification that they're doing this.
Yeah, I'm sure if it was like near something historic, then we'd wanna, be concerned or that they're doing construction by a historic landmark, blah, 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 blah. But it's not. There's nothing there. So,
Okay. Sounds good. Alright, so those are the two items we received this month in the mailbox. I don't think there's any actionable items proposed. The next item on the agenda is the Grange building. I believe Ed has updates for us on that.
Yeah, a lot of activity over the last month. The update is similar to last month. The bid specs were completed right about the time of our meeting last month. I don't remember. If it was right. So the bid specs are ready to go out to bid. Target date set is the 17th of January, which is next Wednesday. I believe. I'm not sure whether we're going to meet that deadline or not. The Grange has received the contract with the Mass Historic Commission as of last like day Monday of this week they received, so they just got it in the mail. It was mailed last Friday night. And the good news is that does not have to be signed by the executive committee of the state Grange. It only has to be signed by the local Grange or the resident. So that's good news. So they have that in the end. That will be signed tomorrow night. They talking to them about 2 hours ago. They have the preservation restriction, which was sent out December 10th and was said to be complete and ready to go. After looking at it this afternoon, it is a mess. It was the document that the state used and revised and made all kinds of changes, and they sent that out with all the cross outs and blackouts and blue outs. And that has to go to the executive committee of the state Grange. Kristen was going to drive to Concord on Friday to meet president of the state Grange to get it signed. After I looked at it this afternoon, I told them to call Ross Deckel at the Mass Historic Commission in Boston, asking you to please email the correct probably in PDF format, not a Word document, with all kinds of changes. So I don't have an update. That was 4 o'clock this afternoon.
That's unacceptable.
It's terrible. It is terrible. And then somewhere around December.
After so much time and effort has been put in to this project on our side, and the state sends out something like that, that's sad.
Well, they sent out the 2 documents. With the statement that the state contract was a placeholder for review with the executive committee because Kristen and Ken had told me that the executive committee was meeting December 11th or 12th on that weekend. So they needed something. So that was sent out. It showed this, but it can't be signed because it isn't final. Preservation restriction, however, is fine. So, anyways, all that said and done. So the document they sent is a Word document that I accidentally clicked on something and Kristen must have on her copy as well. And I realized it and exposed all of the corrections and changes and modifications. I said, oh my God, this needs so-and-so signature. They got the wrong name and the wrong title. But it was the page that the deletion shows. So I have an update on it. We were able to get a hold of Ross at 4 o'clock this afternoon and ask him to please email the new copy. But Kristen's plans on drive, she has to drive on Friday and get the executive committee to sign. I think he's going to need 2 signatures, the president and the treasurer, both live in different ends of the state, to sign it. The state contract will be signed at the Grange's January meeting tomorrow night, which I'm going to attend. And what was I going to say? The Mass Historical Commission in December asked our architect for a list of contractors. Let me back up. When this is bid will be sent, the bid will be put online. It's on a website called Bid Docs. Currently, contractors are aware of and have to be a member. And they will find, so any contractor anywhere can find the bid on it. However, the architect and the Grange are allowed to contact individuals they know and say, hey, we got a bid, you want a copy? So the architect will be sending out bids to a list of people that they use all the time, I guess, in the program. As well as Kevin McLaughlin in town here, I asked to be added to the list. And the architect was asked by the Mass Historical Commission to provide this list of people that you're going to contact personally back in December, as well as the list of what newspapers are you going to put the announcement in, because that's one of the requirements of the masquerade, and that's to be put into a newspaper, one newspaper twice or two newspapers once. So it has to show up 2 times in the public. And they failed to provide that list. And the email, which was very disconcerting yesterday from the architect, is, oh, we're on vacation this week. We'll get it to you on Monday. Now, your bid's supposed to go out next Wednesday, and they haven't gotten the required information to the Mass Historical Commission to easily say, you're not doing anything until we approve this list and everything else. So it's a little messy right now, but probably an expected part of the process. Fingers crossed by the end of the week, this bid goes out. It's a 3-week bid, which means the end of the first week in February, maybe the second week in February. The architect will get whoever bids on it, and they will go through it and advise Ken and I what it looks like, and advise Ross at the Mass Historical Commission what the opinion is. And I know I'm holding my breath that you get one bid that comes in under the amount of money that's available, not all of them over it. Because if they were all coming over it, then some decisions would have to be made quickly about what do we change, what do we take out, and go out and bid again, which would take another 3 weeks. And this whole thing has to be done by June 30th or to make the state pays. So we're kind of in a tense situation right now, but I just.
Control is played, state has.
All this is supposed to be done last September. This
Right,
was supposed to be ready to go last September.
right.
The state is,
They
it
should,
took 3 weeks every time you got the information, and the architect is delayed. So the last thing I want to add, I got an email this afternoon from the architect with 2 invoices, one from July that was not paid, and one from December. So I went back and I looked up the original contract that we signed with the Grange signed with the architect, and the invoices are in compliance with what we had agreed to, which is the good news. The second to that, we did receive an invoice the end of August for almost $5,000, which has been paid. That's the good news. So these 2 invoices are for $240 or $260, which is the balance of the $4,900 that we paid in August against the $1,500 line, which was developed all the bid docs. So we owe 240, already paid 5,000. And the second one is for additional work that was done in December. That is for schematic design. Schematic design and is the in construction documents. So we need to vote to approve a $260 invoice to complete the original evaluation and for a $3,640 invoice for schematic design and finishing the existing conditions and program part of the spec.
does that include CPC funds?
This is all going to be paid out of CPC. I would say that the backup plan, which I want to discuss with the Grange tomorrow night, is the Grange originally voted that they could afford $10,000 or $11,000 to pay the architect or whatever. So we decided that we might as well use the CPC funds for now until the bids are in. And if the bid winds up going over $5 or $6 or $7 or $8 or $90,000, we can go back to the Grange saying, can you guys truly raise that money out of what you have? Which was originally voted for the architect. And still be in the same position that they knew they were going to be in last June when all this went down. So
Hopefully they don't have cash to pay in there, like the oil blows up or something.
the state has raised the issue. It's interesting how they've raised the issue. We originally asked for $80,000 And when the decisions were made in June about all of the winners of the grants, Granger was awarded $50,000, so $30,000 less than requested. And this is all against the 50% matching grant, and that you have to have 75% of the total funds up front to pay the bills, because the state's only going to pay you after the fact, which is very, very complicated. But Ross Decker, the representative of the Historic Commission, has raised the issue that they have extra funds. But he hasn't really stated how difficult or easy it will be if the bid comes in a little high to get a piece of those funds without having to go around this.
Because there are probably some projects that didn't use their full allotment.
Or they have a slush fund in the first place.
Yeah.
They decide to be onto in case somebody does get into trouble and they want to see the project completed. And he only made a statement that if there were additional funds that could be made available, all this, if possible, that it's still 50% matching, you'd have to have the rest. But since $30,000 shy of the original request, we do have the matching funds already in hand from the CPC. So if any of that makes sense, anybody here can explain. The hope is that we bid out the information we, and in 4 weeks from now, we have the bids back and we know where we stand. And if one of them comes in under budget, then there's no issue. Then it becomes, what else can we do? Like, parking lot, driver. Outside of the core bid right now, the core bid is roof, siding and tree repairs and paint. Secondary is handicap ramp that's in the bid, but it says an alternate, it's not included in the core bid. And then the third, which is not in on the radar screen with the state or with the bid, is yard and driveway and parking lot work to improve the, as I said at the very beginning of this meeting, to improve the street appeal, the curb appeal of that building, which is off the way. Proposal that I put on the table with the Grange is to wrap the driveway around the back of the building and tear up the drive that sits in front of the building, plants some grass or flowers or something to greatly improve the way that building looks. I spoke with our DPW director, and he raised a concern about drainage. He said they may fall under a grandfather clause, which would say they wouldn't have to do anything about drainage if they improve their parking lot, or it may not. So there's always an issue.
Yeah.
Always an issue. So that's where the drainage stands. Anybody's got any questions you have? I just sit back every time there's communication, waiting for our friends at the range to respond. Keep having to respond. Keep going.
So do we have to vote on that invoice?
Yeah, so the original bid from the architect was $11,440. They detailed the original bid by line item, and they are invoicing us against the line items that I completely agree are completed. So I have no issues with these invoices. So we have a $3,640 invoice for July, which was apparently not sent to the Grange or me, and we have a $260 one from December. So I'd like to make a motion to authorize approval of this board forward to the CPC to pay these two invoices for $3,640 and $260. Second.
Question though, is it CPC that pays the invoice, or is it, do we pay for it out of the Starbucks?
CPC.
It is, okay.
No, we are required to approve it. It's one of the ones that puts this project over to the CPC. The CPC then takes our approval and they have to vote for it. Paul says they're to over email.
Yeah.
And then he will submit the invoice to the town accountant's office, the town pays the bill. Of our CPC funds.
Okay.
So nothing goes out of our coffers.
Yeah, that's correct.
Roll call vote.
Just ask for all this voting against.
Those opposed? All right, passes.
And Expense voucher. Also, at this,
Yeah,
all here at the CPC.
I can give it to you tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. On the side note, did we touch on Holy Angels for your turn?
That's coming up.
Yeah.
No.
Actually, next.
It's the last thing, I'll type up my meeting minutes, microphone.
Right, Holy Angels Church. I had emailed. So. We had Dan, Lazar's, present at our last meeting, and he had asked a question about where we are as far as the EOI, expression of interest. And also the grant that, Mike Antonellis was working on. So I had emailed Mike Antonellis and asked him what the status is. And he said that the EOI is in draft form and he expects it to be completed at the end of January. So we're still working on that. And he said that the grant is something he's still working on, and he's also expecting that to be completed around the end of January or early February. And once both of those are completed, he's gonna have to run that by the EDC for approval. So that's where that stands. And in regards to the Holy Angels, I think we have 3 things on the agenda as goals, which is one is painting the church with historical colors and designs. Second one is lighting the windows, stained glass windows in front of the church. And the third is replacing the stained glass protectors. Yeah, okay. Why don't you proceed with that? Painting the church in the historical colors.
We met with, Dennis Westgate, DPW director, last week. And had a brief chat with him about our, request to have the original colors of the church investigated and the church painted this summer or whenever they do painting with those original colors. It's both our suspicion that the original colors are white, but nobody knows that for sure. So he said he would go over and pull chips off the building. I emailed him the chip instruction sheet from John Candy and Company in Connecticut that we use in the Grange on how to recover a paint chip off a building. I emailed it Friday. I have not heard back.
Yeah, we're getting an echo.
Are you getting feedback?
Yeah, we're getting feedback. Awesome, thank you. Sorry.
So he agreed to go pull chips. He said he would get in touch with the town planner and see what his thoughts were on historical colors. And I said, let me make it clear, the historical commission is the one pushing this issue. We want to see the building painted in its original colors. So it might be appropriate for you to draft a very short letter to Delphine, where you're being our town planner and our town manager on the historical commission's desire to see that building painted in its original colors.
If you look at those early pictures, I don't think that's right.
Well, I said I'm a Methodist church, which is just a meeting. It was not just like Northern Christian. It could have been reds or yellows or. And those in the Christian would be nearly impossible to recover the original colors because
Right.
it's been all over the side. But the church looks to me like it's original siding.
The different colors though, I think some of it was white and then some of it was a darker color, but the darker colors would have been at the top. So if you were to get a paint chip from the bottom, you might not get to the colors from the top.
Right, the trim.
I told him he had to pull 2 chips minimum. One would be from the body somewhere the clad was, and one would be from somewhere on the trims. Corner. Stage is what we call it.
Maybe the letter I'll include a picture of the original church and show him that like where the colors were. Right?
Quite a few pictures.
Yeah, I think it's just one else too.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
you're
you're,
right. You're right.
come to the town hall,
I will do that. Concerning the lighting of the windows, you want to know all of it? All right, concerning the lighting of the windows, I'm not exactly sure how to proceed with that, but I was thinking perhaps I should just start off by emailing, Joe Layden and or Mike Antonellis to see how we should proceed with that. That I could way to proceed.
does,
Is there any electricity?
There's no electricity, so that's the main problem.
And we're gonna pay them, Bill.
Who's gotta pay the election bills, another problem. Yeah.
Well, if you include that, the same about 2 items.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
And then all three, because Dennis Westgate now, I believe, is responsible for maintenance issues of town buildings,
Okay.
which was, my understanding, nobody was ever responsible. Because of the issues raised with Northern Richmond and Holy Angels last year, that I guess Joe and him talked that he needed to do something about coming up with proposals for each building, what needs to be done to keep standing
Okay.
intact, so.
Okay.
That's why money was voted at the November town meeting, 55,000 for the Holy Angels and 50,000 for Northern Richmond approximately, for cleaning, painting both buildings this summer.
Okay. Sounds good. So with that being said, maybe I will also replacing the stained glass protectors as well. Okay.
There it is.
Oh.
yeah, look at how dark it is at the top here.
Yeah, it was originally a Methodist church,
Unitarian.
Unitarian, and the Unitarians sold the building to build the Northern Richmond, right?
No,
No?
it's so, it's sold to the Catholic, it's sold to the Catholic Church.
They sold it to the Catholics, but then they built the Northern Richmond for their church. Rooms. The
Unitarian, when we built the church in the West Country.
Just not.
I might just go on.
But we said it's something, I guess I'm right.
Yeah, and so looking at that image, maybe the columns were
Same color as
at the top.
Yeah.
Looks like two colors, the trim, all the trim, dark, and the body is light.
We'll put that up, Catherine.
Yeah. It's waving. Thanks, Pat.
I'll tell you, that building next to it, the Thompson block, looks a whole lot better there than what it does today.
That's like us.
The one on the right, did you notice that it's 3 stories tall?
Yes,
Yeah.
As it sits now, it's only 2 stories tall.
and the one on the left must be the GAR.
Yeah,
Right.
for the third meeting house, third meeting house.
Cool. Nice job, Catherine.
So the only way that paint chip thing works is if they just painted over the old paint. You know, if they stripped it, then the original paint wouldn't be there.
That's correct. The challenge, and that's why the instructions that I sent to Dennis from John Canning cover Where you look for picture. Oh, it's an area where the most paint buildup, you know, on the windowsill. And
Okay.
some area that's been painted and painted and painted. The challenge we ran into with Grange was interesting in my perception after trying to pull paint chips off 3 weeks ago with Grange was the building's not painted. There was no buildup. And they want you to extract the chip and the wood the chip sits on. So they want you to actually carve a piece of wood on a plywood or trim. So the scent has the wood and the paint. So when they put it on the microscopic analysis, they can see the transition from wood to maybe a varnish layer, maybe a primer layer. And every time I pointed the knife at the gleaming side, I mean, I got the, I just pointed it, just paint fell there. Yeah, fell off. I'm trying to paint which the paint's falling on the ground. So I should have added that for the Grange update is the paint chips were sent off last Friday to John Candy in Connecticut. Check that the Grange is paying for to start the paint analysis.
Okay.
So we should know by the end of January what the original colors of that building were.
Fantastic.
Or get a letter saying your chips failed, get some more, pay some more.
That one.
After we want to make up our colors.
So I will take an action item to send that email out to Ms. Westby. I think that's pretty much all we have for the Angels update. Unless anybody else had anything else to add.
My name is.
Okay, let's, I'll take an action item to talk.
That's your.
I sent her the agenda and she somehow formatted it.
She's using our rules. Just adding minutes today. And I think your name, I think somebody's name is on there twice. It wasn't.
Oh, who's on that choice?
Oh, I completed my,
Yeah.
and it's, that's been,
But it's not even once, so. You're not, you should do this one, shoot.
a star. I wasn't interested. Yeah, too complicated, wow.
So, the next item on the agenda is the social media update. I don't know, Patrick, you had any updates for that?
Nothing to report. Happy New Year, everybody.
Can you hear? Okay, sounds good. The next item is the 300th anniversary. I don't know how much we have any updates. Okay. And finally, if there are any topics that, anyone else needs to bring up. For the meeting.
Oh, I was going to mention that the Historical Society is going to have a program on January the 20th in the community room, down, big room down, at the center. And it's going to be put on by the park rangers from West Valley Heritage Corridor. And it's going to be about the history of mills in the towns and how Upton, was involved in organic industry and general.
What's the date?
January 20th.
January 20th starts at 1.
That's Saturday.
It's a Saturday. It's the first program that they've had since COVID. So
Where's it going to be at? Where's it going to be held at?
in the community center in the big room.
Senior center.
Yeah, right. What they call that big room.
Is that
Yeah.
what it's like, bingo?
I don't know. I tried to go to bingo a couple of times and people told me, shh. I said, I like to talk to people. I don't want to sit there.
We'll take bingo way too seriously. I have some people, oh, they ordered enough to play bingo.
All things.
Bingo.
Yes. So, yep, oh, and I just wanted to thank Ed for covering for me for the last meeting at the flu. So thank you.
You'll get my bill from them.
Yeah. Historical commission's report, so. And, yes, that's it. So we can go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Take,
Make a motion.
okay,
I'll second it.
okay. Just do what's, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All those